Our interview for Coconuts TV today is with Peter Hallows. Now, Peter is a supporter with well over 50 years as a fan of the club.
Yep.
Peter? Peter, thanks for volunteering to be interviewed by us today. It's great to see you, and thanks for inviting us to your home. Can you tell us first and foremost, when and where were you actually born?
Yeah, I was born in Mill Road Maternity Hospital in Cambridge in March 1954. For the early part of my life, lived down Stainsfield Road, which is quite near the ground. It's probably about 3 or 4 minutes walk away. And then from the age of 10, we moved over to Arbury, which is where, funnily enough, my mum still lives. She's my mum's 88 years old, and she's as big a Cambridge fan as I am, if not bigger.
We seem to attract people for a very long period of time, don't we, as a club?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with watching the U's is, you know, you get your highs, you get your lows, you get your deep troughs, but it's just the club. You know, you're it's almost like you're born into it, and you never leave it alone.
It's the first thing you look for on a Saturday evening, isn't it?
Yeah,
if you've not been in the game.
yeah, and you know, obviously they give you some very happy moments, which is great. But,
and I'm sure we'll talk about some of those as we go on. So you were born on Stainsfield Road. So really you were within a hop, skip and a jump of the ground itself. Can you remember when you first became aware that this was a place where things happened?
I was probably about 5 or 6, I think. I must have gone. Used to go with my dad and my mum and my brother. We used to go up there, and we used to go to a lot of away matches as well, as a family. I mean, obviously, in those days, the team in Cambridge was Cambridge City. They were more successful than the U's. The ground was bigger. They had a bigger fan base. But I mean, I must have been probably 7, and it was a Friday night, and we were playing Merthyr Tydfil. I wonder if they still exist. and for some reason, I think my dad must have been working late, so I said to Mum, well, I want to go. So at that tender age, I took myself up there, sat in the corona end, because in those days you could sit in the corona end, because there was hardly anybody there, and just watched the match. And then I went home, and I think it cost me 1 and 6 or something. What's that, about 8p? Something strange. And I mean, I was already hooked by then. I remember my dad was actually an Arsenal fan, but because we were a local club, he didn't want to take me up there. And the first game I ever saw in the big league was I saw Tottenham versus Burnley in 1962. They had all players like Jimmy Greaves, Bobby Brown, and all that lot. But that didn't really hook me. You know, I was a Cambridge fan, and that was my local club, and it was so easy to get to.
It's very interesting that you say City were, as we know, the bigger club, even at that time, even through into the 60s. But Cambridge were ambitious, if nothing else.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember going up there and having the old wooden stand where the main stand is now, waiting to collect autographs, buy what are now those glorious toilets next to the main stand. They were the changing rooms for both sets of players, and just standing there, and the smell of liniment that came out of there was overpowering. But you'd stand there, and then, you know, the Cambridge players would come out, and you'd collect autographs, and the opposition would do the same. I mean, I've got lots of autograph books, lots of scrapbooks, which I will be happy to donate to you guys once I can get them out the loft. You know, and we played some odd teams in those days. I remember we played a friendly against Hapoel Tel Aviv from Israel, and after the match it was like, I don't know how many were there, but on the pitch got all their autographs, you know, the away team, and in time, of course, some of the players got to know you, and so all you'd say to someone like Rodney Slack,
Yeah.
who was my hero. He actually inspired me to be a goalkeeper, although I'm never as good as him. You know, Rodney Slack or people like that, you'd say, can you take my autograph book in, and the players would sign it, and yeah, it'd be brilliant, it'd be really good.
So very much a club which was part of the community even at that time.
Oh yes, yeah.
But which was growing, because it had grown from very small roots through the especially the 40s, 50s into the 60s, heading for the Football League, obviously by the end of the 1960s. But at that stage, still in the Southern League.
Yes, yeah, they were in the Southern League Premier. In those days, it was very much a 3-horse race normally between the U's, 4-horse race between the U's, Bedford, Weymouth and Chelmsford City. They were always the 4 that were up there. And I think it must have been about the mid-60s that the U's come up with this really cunning plan. In order to stop Chelmsford being so dominant, they bought their forward line.
They did.
So we had Peter Leggett on the wing, and Tony Nicholas at centre forward. I can't remember who the other guy was on the other side, but I mean, Peter Leggett was the first winger I'd really seen who could actually run like a greyhound with the ball at his feet. Brilliant. And that year, you know, we dominated. We won the league, and then of course eventually we got in the Football League, which was obviously one of the great highlights.
So staying with the 60s just for a little bit of time, you obviously, this is a time when you grew from around 6 till around 16, but there were massive changes in the club at that time. You must have seen some wonderful players come and go during that time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you had, I mean, not only to the playing staff but to the ground as well. I mean, they put up the floodlight pylons before. When I first went there, they were literally, you know, spotlights on telegraph poles. Then the old wooden stand went. They built the main stand. The allotment end, they actually concreted the terraces. I remember when I first went up there, it was just railway sleepers.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, obviously we had, I say, my heroes like Rodney Slack, Jimmy Gibson, who had a fantastic shot. I can lay testament to that, because I was sitting on the wall at the allotment end one day, and one of his cannonballs missed the goal, hit me in the, I don't know, in the head or the chest, and I just went over the wall like a cartoon character with my legs waving in the air. And next thing I know, my heroes over the wall picked me up and said, "You all right, son?" I just went, "Yeah." And he put me back on the wall, and they carried on playing. But yeah, I mean, you know, in those days we had players like Matt McVitie, and as I said before, like the Chelmsford forward line, and just before we got in the league, you know, we got some really good players. We had the Atkinsons, of course. And
do you remember Johnny Haas?
Johnny Haas, yeah. I mean, up until that time, I wasn't aware of foreign players playing in the, you know, in the English league, let alone in the non-league. So, yeah, Johnny Haas, and those were the days when the U's had that all-white strip with 2 black and 1 yellow stripes down the middle. Yeah,
that was a favourite strip of many people, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we interviewed Johnny
right.
a year and a little bit ago. He's still got as strong a Hungarian accent as he ever had. He was a demon, and he loved his time in Cambridge.
Oh yeah, he was a brilliant player.
Great. So you've obviously seen the club develop through, and let's talk about the rivalry with City for just a little bit too, because it was intense, and City were the team from the other side of the river, weren't they? I mean, you know, we were south, they were north, but they were quite posh in their way, weren't they? They called us the bread and dripping boys.
Yeah, I mean, there was this big thing between City and United, as you say. I mean, we were seen as, you know, the small fry.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one night we played City in I think it was the final of the Cambs Professional Cup, and there were I think it was about 13,000 at that match. You know, for two non-league teams, okay, they were local, but you know, and it's a bit like away games now. Sometimes you think, where do all these people come from? They come out the woodwork because it's a big match, but God bless them for supporting us anyway. But no, you know, you'd go up Milton Road and it was this massive, great stadium with the training pitch behind, and yeah, I mean, they were better than us. By, you know, I can't argue with that. I didn't like it, but they were. And then, as we got our ascendancy and obviously moved further and further up the Southern League and won it quite a few times and won the Southern League Cup and things like that, City started to decline, and I think that was something to do just with money, and their. As they started playing badly, as all teams do, they lost a lot of their fans. And of course now, you know, they had to gradually sell off bits of their ground, and now they're playing in Silverstone.
You're very close to, I think they're building the stadium there. But as you say, through the 60s, you were there and you saw this change taking place. One question I often ask people is, can you remember the day that Cambridge were elected to the league? And is it a strong memory for you, or is it one that just happened?
No, I mean, I remember it because, you know, before we tried to get in the league, and of course no one would vote for us, or you know, 2 or 3 teams would, but of course the league hierarchy, the 4th division hierarchy, obviously didn't really want these any new boys in the league. But no, I remember sitting at home listening to the radio with my dad, waiting for the announcement, and it was like, oh well, you know, we'll probably get a few more votes this time, but we won't get in. And then it was like, you know, Cambridge United have been elected to the Football League. It was like, yes, you know, we're now in with the big boys. That was really good, and I think even then I was too young to go down the pub, I think. But it was one of those days where, yeah, it was just so fantastic, and the first match in the league when we played, that was brilliant.
But for many people, this was tempered by the sadness that Rodney Slack, his services were no longer required.
Yeah.
And he never got to play in the league.
No. I mean, obviously, being one of my boyhood heroes, that was sad. But unfortunately, you know, with football, that's a fact of life, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to jump to now straight away, but when you look at the side that Richard Money put together and was quite successful, that, you know, Sean Derry has started to take apart, and why not? He's got his own style of playing. No one likes to see their heroes go or transferred or dropped, but that's football.
Yeah, you're dead right. Okay, so you can remember. Can you remember the early days in the league? I mean, the first game in the Football League was a big one in itself.
Yeah, I remember going up to that one and being a massive, great crowd there, of course. And I can't remember whether we won it or not.
I think it was a draw.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, which was a bit of a disappointment because it's always nice to win your first game. But and of course, then we were in the 4th division for a while, and then of course remember that brilliant day going to Wembley to watch Dion score the winner against Chesterfield.
We jumped way ahead there, but that's fine. Yes,
back in the 60s, I think Dudley Arliss arrived, and he did a lot to get United into the Football League.
In terms of the lottery.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that went on, obviously, you know, with the club, as I say, to persuade them to let us into the Football League. I mean, you know, in those days, I would argue, because I'm biased, but we were the best non-league team in the country. You know, I think someone like Blythe Spartans would probably disagree with us, but you know, they were in the Northern Premier and that didn't count. But you know, but we were the best team in the league, and we deserved it.
And I think without a doubt the economics of the club were sound. And I think that's what Alan was alluding to, is the fact that Cambridge had a decent fan base, but they had the lottery, which was the envy of first division clubs.
Oh yeah.
At that time, it was bringing in thousands a week. So they were financially sound, and they weren't going to go under.
No. I mean, I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't give some people the credit for, is taking what was quite a small club with an average ground to build them and build them and build them. So we had the facilities, and we had the fan base and the financial clout to be sustainable in the league, because we all know what happened many years later.
Yes, okay. Well, this is a great time to just compare and contrast with today, because it wasn't an instant. Suddenly you're in the league and you've done it. It was a building thing, wasn't it? Even before your time, through the 40s, 50s, to the 60s, when we could get to the league, it was slow progress, but regular progress. And we're seeing a lot of that again today. Just to jump ahead a lot, we're seeing that today. It's not one mighty leap. It's several small steps.
I mean, I think when I suppose, again, to jump forward a bit, the person, or one of the main drivers of this, of course, been Jez George. He looked at the club. He came in. We had a really good youth policy. I know, because I've got relations who actually played for the team, and he came in. He's looked at the club, and as you say, they just looked at it, and with the current chairman as well. I remember listening to an interview with him on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire, coming back from Mum's one Friday night on my way to work, and the chairman said, I'm basing the finances on the club on a gate of this level. Anything over and above that is bonus, and that's what we're aiming for. We're not, looking to get in the unfortunate financial mess we got in that brought us out of the league before. And they're my words, not the chairman's. But and that's it. It's now you look at the club and you think, from bottom to top, they've got their heads screwed on, and that is brilliant. And
importantly, it's sustainable. That's the big thing about it.
Yeah.
Right, so we've got into the league. We're in the 70s. We'll look back. We're in the 70s. We've got into the league. The club managed to survive in the league. It's fair to say, for the first couple of years. Then again, just a little bit of improvement each year. Saw us doing quite well through the 70s and into the 80s. Now this is your time, isn't it? Because you've gone from like mid-teens through to the next 20 years, you're in your 30s. How did you see the club develop in that sort of time? And the ground as well. We're always interested in how the ground developed or changed.
I mean, I think the thing is, from like the early 70s, when I was 16, 17, until I was 21, I never missed a game, home or away, even pre-season friendlies. There was a band of us, probably ranged from 10 to 20, known as the allotment enders. Unfortunately, some of whom are no longer with us, but we, as I say, we used to go to all the grounds. We were known by the fans. When we used to get to away matches, we used to get off the coach, and either one of the players or one of the staff would come up and go, "Okay, guys, got some complimentary tickets for you," because they obviously appreciated the fact that we followed them all around the country, and you from that there were some mighty lows in that time though. I remember going to Hartlepool, and they'd, about 3 days before, they were doing really badly, and they decided to bring in Uri Geller to do some mine work with them. And of course we're all going, what a load of rubbish. Anyway, got up there, we lost 5-0. It was like there was almost a ritual burning of scarves on the terraces because it was such a shock defeat. And also I remember going to a pre-season friendly at Scunthorpe and seeing a certain Mr. Kevin Keegan play his first ever game. He came on as a sub in this friendly. But no, I mean, going back to your question, looking at the ground, you know, you've gone from out my end, the allotment end. Now you've got the stand there for away supporters, which is great. You've got the main stand. You've obviously got a lot of new facilities. The Habin stand is still the same as it was, really, and really the Corona end, as I still call it, I don't know what anybody calls it now, but I call it the Corona end, is the same. I wonder when we're going to spend this million on the toilets. That would be really good.
There would be some toilet there.
Yeah.
Can we ask you about a couple of players around about that time? There was one who we interviewed, a great bloke, Sammy Morgan, and his pal Dave Stringer.
Oh, right. Oh, God, yeah.
Do you remember either of those two?
Oh, I remember Dave Stringer, yeah. He played for Norwich when he was a big bustling centre half, and Sammy Morgan, this rather tall centre forward, Irish guy, wasn't he?
Yes, Northern Irish. Played with George Best.
Yeah, he was. I mean, when you look back, there's so many players that who played for us who you look back and think they were good.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was the thing that whether it was, you know, managers like Bill Levers or whoever was looking to strengthen the side and bring in players that weren't quite past their sell-by date, but you know they were well experienced, and we all know that in what is now, you know, League Two and League One to some aspects, you need players who have got that experience, you've got that nous, and they will help some of the other players through those hard times with their leadership.
Experience, isn't it? We know that's the standard. So you again, as we say, this is part of the community aspect, isn't it? That you still felt part of the club at this time, even though it was becoming a bigger club, and the crowds must have been getting pretty decent.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember going up there and you know, you'd have to get up there at 2 o'clock in order to actually get on the Corona end. Well, get in the supporters club, have a few drinks, and then get on the Corona end, I must admit. But yeah, I mean, the club was getting bigger and bigger, but it never lost that feel of being a club for the fans. And it, you know, it was part of the community, and you always got the feeling, I'm going to get a bit controversial here, that you know, the university didn't really want this successful football club within the town. You only have to look at what, you might have to cut this out, but what they're doing about, you know, the planning permission for the new ground. It's like, oh, you can build a science park, but we can't have a decent football ground for the community.